Nobody tells you when the still young period ends and the should already know begins. There's no official ceremony, no one hands you a letter saying, your grace period for being a work in progress has officially expired. It's quieter than that. It's a shift in the way people look at you when you say you're still figuring things out. In your early 20s, that phrase is an adventure. It's full of potential. Somewhere around 30, it starts to sound like an excuse. It's like being in a waiting room where they've stopped calling names, but the door is locked and you're the only one left who hasn't been summoned to the real life phase. You look around and the chairs are empty. Everyone else seems to have found their room, their role, their definitive answer. And you're just still sitting there, holding a ticket for a number that hasn't been called in years. The risk isn't just being lost. It's the specific, suffocating kind of lost that happens when you feel you're too old for it. It's the fear that if you haven't built the foundation by now, you're just going to spend the rest of your life living in the ruins of almost. Connections to people who once shared your confusion start to feel different. You see them crossing finish lines you didn't even realize you were supposed to be running toward. Mortgages, career paths that have actual titles, children who are starting school. And suddenly, your life, the one that felt flexible and free, starts to feel like a series of missed exits. The risk is waking up at 35 and realizing you've optimized your life for potential so much that you forgot to actually build anything. You're a person with 1,000 half-read books and a dozen abandoned hobbies, standing in a kitchen at 1 a.m. eating cold pasta out of the pot, wondering if this is the peak. Wondering if the version of you that was supposed to arrive got lost on the way. Because the world doesn't have much patience for a lost 30-year-old. Society likes it when you're neatly categorized, when you have a label that explains your presence. Without it, you're just there. And the weight of that just being there starts to feel like a slow-motion betrayal of every version of yourself that dreamed of being more. If you don't find a way to make peace with the uncertainty now, you risk turning that confusion into a permanent identity. Not a phase, a life. I remember exactly when it hit me. I was at a wedding, it's always a wedding, standing in a circle of people I'd known since college. 3 years ago, we were all the same. We were all broke, all confused, all complaining about the same entry-level hurdles. But this time, the conversation had changed. They weren't talking about what if anymore. They were talking about when. When the renovation starts, when the promotion kicks in, when the second kid is due. Found myself nodding along, performing the role of the supportive friend, while a cold, sharp panic started to rise in my chest. I looked at my own life. I'm still renting. My career is a collection of interesting projects that don't add up to a trajectory. My relationship status is, well, it's a question mark. And I realized I've been using the I'm still young card for so long that I didn't notice the deck had run out. This is the hidden conflict of our generation. We were told we had infinite time to find ourselves. We were told to follow your passion and not settle. But they forgot to tell us that not settling can look a lot like not starting. So you stay in the limbo. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right thing, the right job that feels like a calling, the right partner who feels like destiny, the right city that feels like home. But the right thing is a ghost. It's a moving target. And meanwhile, your friends are building lives out of good enough things. They settled for the stable job that's just okay. They settled for the partner who is kind and reliable. They built a reality while you stayed in the dream. It makes you feel like a fraud. You buy adult clothes that make you feel like you're in a costume. You go to work meetings and use words like alignment and deliverables. But inside, you're still that 19-year-old who doesn't know how to do taxes and is pretty sure everyone is going to find out. The pressure isn't just about what you don't have. It's about the silence where the answers should be. It's the 2 a.m. Google searches. Is it too late to change careers at 32? Why do I feel like a failure? How to find purpose when you're older? You search for a roadmap, but all you find are highlight reels of people who seemingly skipped the lost phase entirely. People who were born to do this. People who never stood in a grocery store aisle for 10 minutes staring at cereal boxes because the choice felt like a metaphor for their entire paralyzed life. It's exhausting. Being on is exhausting. Performing the version of you that has it together for the sake of your parents, your boss, your partner, but most of all, for the version of yourself you promised you'd become. But here's the part no one wants to say out loud. Most of those settled people, they're just as lost as you are. They just have better props. We mistake stability for clarity. We see someone with a house and a title, and we assume they have a map. We assume they wake up in the morning and know exactly why they're doing what they're doing. But talk to them. Really talk to them. Not the wedding circle talk, but the late-night kitchen floor talk. You'll find that the mortgage is just a different kind of anchor. The promotion is just a bigger distraction. The kid is a beautiful, terrifying responsibility that makes them feel even more like they're winging it. The secret is that adulthood isn't an arrival. It's an improvisation that just gets more expensive. What I didn't understand back then, the part I missed while I was comparing my behind the scenes to their highlight reel, is that the lost feeling doesn't go away once you check the boxes. It just changes its shape. The person who made all the right choices, they're often living inside a structure built by a past version of themselves, a version that wanted safety. And now they're 34, staring at the walls of the life they built, wondering if this is it. Wondering if they traded their potential for a very comfortable cage. So maybe being lost isn't a defect. Maybe it's a symptom of refusing to settle for a life that doesn't fit the person you've become. We change, we evolve, our values shift, our understanding of ourselves deepens, and suddenly the path we were on feels narrow. The lost feeling is just your internal compass recalibrating to a new version of you. It's not a sign that you're behind. It's a sign that you're still awake. I used to think that being figured out meant having a straight line, a clear trajectory from A to B. But life isn't a straight line. It's a series of pivots. It's a recursive loop where you keep coming back to the same questions, but hopefully with a little more honesty each time. The people who look like they have it all figured out, they're often just the ones who are the best at hiding the mess. Or worse, the ones who stopped asking the questions entirely. And honestly, I'd rather be lost and asking than settled and asleep. The turning point comes when you stop waiting for the moment of sudden clarity. It's not coming. There is no divine intervention where the clouds part and a voice tells you exactly which career to pursue or which person to marry. There is no click where everything suddenly makes sense and the anxiety vanishes forever. The climax isn't a breakthrough, it's an acceptance. It's the quiet realization that you are allowed to be a work in progress at any age. that being 30 or 40 or 50 and not having the answers doesn't make you a failure. It makes you human. The turning point is when you stop apologizing for your timeline. When you look at your empty chairs and realize they're not empty, they're open. Open for something that actually matters to the person you are now, not the person you thought you should be 10 years ago. It's about letting go of the ghost of the person you were supposed to be. That version of you, the one who was going to be a homeowner by 27 and a CEO by 30, they served their purpose. They kept you moving. But they're not real. They're a fictional character written by a younger, less experienced version of you. You don't owe that character anything. The most brave thing you can do is admit that you don't know the ending yet, and that it's okay to be in the middle of the story, even if the chapter feels longer than you expected. Here's what I want you to consider. What if finding yourself isn't the goal? What if the goal is just being honest about where you are? What I understand now is that figuring it out isn't about having answers. It's about being at peace with the questions. Not in a way that makes you passive, but in a way that makes you present. Here's what I found works for me. I started an experiment journal. I realized my paralysis came from the idea that every choice had to be permanent. So I stopped making decisions and started making 3-month experiments. 1 month, I decided to act as if I was going to stay in my current field forever. I leaned in, I did the extra work, I looked for the beauty in it. The next month, I acted as if I was definitely going to quit and start something new. I did the research, I talked to people in the new field, I practiced the skills. What I noticed was that the decision didn't matter as much as the data. By treating my life as a series of tests, I removed the life or death pressure. I found that I actually liked parts of my current job I'd ignored, and that the dream job had hurdles I wasn't willing to jump. Second, I started asking my settled friends what they're currently confused about. Every single one of them had an answer. Every single one. It broke the illusion of their perfection and made me realize we're all just in different stages of the same mess. It's not about radical reinvention. It's about small admissions. Admitting you're tired, admitting you're scared, admitting you don't have the map. Because the second you stop pretending you're not lost, you can actually start looking around at where you are. And you might find that the waiting room actually has some pretty incredible views if you just stop staring at the door. You're not behind. You're not off track. You're just living a story that doesn't follow a script. And that's the only kind of story worth telling anyway. It's okay to be lost. Just don't forget to look around while you're there.